What is up, everybody? Louis back here again for another fun night of fights. UFC Vegas 75. Marvin Vettori taking on Jared Cannonier at 185 pounds, men's middleweight. Both guys just kind of fighting to keep their spot. Wanting to stay relevant in that title conversation. Both lost to Izzy and Robert Whitaker, so it's a tough one. I really think each guy needs an impressive finish here to have any title aspirations. So, we'll see. Not the most compelling fight, but, you know, two high-ranking guys going at it. Should be interesting. And then you got Arman Tsarukyan taking on Joaquim Silva, who's supposed to fight Moicano a while ago, and that fell through. So this kind of just a stay busy fight. But on the other hand, it's a huge opportunity for Joaquim Silva. If he could upset Arman Tsarukyan, I mean, that would just be madness. Then you got Muslim Salikhov taking on Nicholas Dalby. Should be interesting. Jimmy Flick is back. See if he can revitalize his career. Yeah, and, you know, it's a fight night. So, you know, but it has the potential to have some fun fights and some exciting moments. 13 fights. Let's get right into it here. First fight of the night, 205 pounds. Men's light heavyweight. Zach PAUGA taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Zach PAUGA making the move down from heavyweight. His last fight, he took on Jordan Wright. First round, he was landed overhand right, ended the overhook. Then he was able to transition to the clinch, landed a couple elbows and knees, but mostly just clinched him against the fence the whole round. Then in the second round, he landed a couple step-in overhands, gets to the over-under clinch, and then he landed an elbow flurry, but he's not able to finish the double leg attempts, and he's not really trying to either, honestly. Then in the third round, he landed some step-in right crosses to the body, and then came up to the head, that drops him from there, and then he lands a leg kick and a jab, and then he landed a single, works his way to the clinch. Then he landed some step-in jabs at range, but then he eats a cross off a body kick. But yeah, he didn't really do too much the whole fight. He dropped all man, couldn't take advantage of it, and I just clinched him. So, and then Modestas Bukauskas took on Tyson Pedro, his last fight, on short notice. In the first round, he lands a step-in 1-2, circles on the outside, but then he ate a body kick, and then he gets clinched, drugged down from there, but he's able to pop back up relatively quickly. He didn't take any damage. He misses some overhands, but he's able to land a follow-up left hook. Then in the second round, he presses forward. He throws some 1-2s. He's able to land a right cross standing at range. But he landed a step-in short hook. But then he gets clinched up against the fence again. But then he lands a jab to the body, then to the head. Third round, he was landing a hook and then a straight right at range. But then he eats a counter cross. And he gets clinched yet again. But he's able to break the clinch and land a couple hooks at the end. Bukauskas minus 195. Zach PAUGA plus 165. I think Bukauskas is the better fighter, but he did get clinched a lot in that fight, and Zach PAUGA is the clinch master, I guess. And for this price tag, you know, it's a very low-level fight. I'm just going to go Zach PAUGA plus 165. I think he can clinch Modestas Bukauskas and make it really dirty. Or not dirty, but really close. And it might be a boring split decision. And in that case, I'm taking Zach PAUGA. Second fight of the night at 135 pounds. Men's bantamweight, Dan Argueta taking on Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence coming off about a year-long layoff. Dan Argueta took on Nick Aguirre his last fight. First round, he gets the clinch to the fence. Completes a single leg off the fence. Whenever Aguirre comes... But Aguirre comes out of the back, but whenever Dan's able to take his back, looks for an armbar, but then he slides off the top and he gives up his back again, but then he's able to reverse position again, get back to his back. So decent scramble ability from him, but then he's able to land some ground and pound around the back and goes for the rear naked choke. In the second round, he lands some lead hooks and an overhand. He works the body. He's able to get to the clinch, but he presses with some leg kicks into the clinch position again, and then he gets a single leg to the double. He's able to cut the corner. Beautiful finish, completes it off the fence, takes his back, looks for the rear naked choke again, so he's staying busy at the end of those rounds. In the third round, he eats a head kick standing at range, but he lands some overhands to the clinch, but then he eats some hooks, but then he's able to complete the double leg off the fence, and he takes his back, but then there's a wall walk scramble. Aguirre pushes off the cage, but then he's able to maintain position and get half guard, land some nice ground and pound to end the fight. Really good 3 rounds from him. Then Ronnie Lawrence took on SALIKHOV Kakhramonov his last fight and just got completely worked the whole fight. First round, he gets the body lock into the front headlock position, but then he gets mat returned, and then he gets hip tossed into half guard. Doesn't really have an answer. Finally gets up, but he doesn't break free of the grip, and then he gets mat returned from the clinch and he tries to get back up. He'll get taken out with the trip again, so he just cannot break free. Then in the second round, he lands a counter uppercut at range, but then he gets clipped with an overhand, and then he gets taken down with a double off of a teep kick, and he eats some ground and pound in half guard, gives up his back to try to get up, but then he's able to complete the body lock trip momentarily, but he cannot hold him down. Cock Rakimov just pop right back up. But then in the third round, he gets taken down with the blast double, tries to go for the omoplata, gets put into half guard again, gives up his back to stand up. Can't do much there, man. It was a tough one for him. Ronnie Lawrence, minus 190. Dan Argueta, plus 160. Both guys have similar skill sets. Both guys can wrestle. I think Ronnie Lawrence is probably a little bit better on the feet. But I think Dan Argueta has decent pressure. And, Ronnie Lawrence against Manny Martinez was beating him the whole fight. And then he got dropped really bad in the third round, almost got knocked out. So I don't know if I really trust Ronnie Lawrence, to be honest, at minus 190. It's a little bit of a tough call here. I mean, Ronnie Lawrence has more experience. But, Dan Argueta looked good, man. And he's scrappy. I think he can make it a decent fight. And that line's a little high for me. Minus 190 for Ronnie Lawrence coming off a year layoff. Dan Argueta plus 160. I think he might be able to get it done here. I'm going to go with him pretty much based on the odds. I think that, he can, if he can defend a lot of Ronnie Lawrence's takedowns, maybe get some counter shots. And just kind of make it a dirty and a close decision. So I'm going to go with Dan Argueta. Why not? We'll see. 125 pounds, women's flyweight, Teresa BLEDA taking on Gabriela Fernandez. BLEDA took on Natalia Silva her last fight. In the first round, she gets a body lock off of a back kick from Natalia. She's able to roll through the headlock when she gets thrown. She's able to come out on top, but then she gets swept from half guard. She has an underhook, but then she pulls a triangle. And then this kind of close to finishing, not close to finishing, but kind of set it up. And then in the second round, she eats a straight right off of her blitz, but she's able to land a jab off the wad hook. She shoots to get into the clinch. She tries to get the single leg off the fence, but it gets defended, and she eats some counter hooks whenever she's throwing her straight shots. And then in the third round, she gets rocked with a counter hook, standing in the pocket whenever she's loading up. And then she eats a back kick off of her level change and just gets knocked out. It was perfect place, perfect timing for Natalia Silva. Tough break for BLEDA. Then Gabriela Fernandez, she took on Jasmine Jazz the Vicious her last fight. In the first round, she lands a 1-2 at range. She's able to circle along the outside. She lands a counter left cross and a 1-2 whenever she gets pressed, and then she just kind of circles. And she gets body locked to the fence, but then she gets taken out with the trip. She eats some ground and pound and half guard. She tries to go for the reverse arm triangle. Tries to go for the reverse triangle on the bottom, but can't really get anything going there. Then in the second round, she lands some left crosses in the pocket exchange, but then she gets rocked. She walks into a straight right, and then she gets clinched, and she gets taken out the hip toss off of the fence, and the half guard ground and pound gets put in a crucifix. Brutal stuff. Then in the third round, she gets pressured, and then she gets taken out the single off the fence, and she tries to go for a bad guillotine. Not going to do anything. But Jasmine's pretty good, and Natalia Silva's pretty good. So both ladies just kind of want to get a win. Gabriela Fernandez plus 190, Teresa BLEDA minus 225. I would say bet on Gabriela Fernandez. Put your money on her, but my official pick's going to be Teresa BLEDA. Teresa BLEDA is going to be able to take down Gabriela Fernandez, I believe. And Gabriela Fernandez, kind of a threat on the feet, but I thought Teresa BLEDA was relatively competitive in Natalia Silva up until she got knocked out. So I'm going to go for her, but bet on the underdog. I like Teresa, though. Fourth fight of the night, 125 pounds, men's flyweight, Carlos Hernandez taking on UFC newcomer Denis Bodnar. Hernandez took on Alan Nascimento his last fight. In the first round, he just gets submitted. He eats his front kick, got his back taken. Not much to talk about. But before that, he took on Victor Altamirano. In the first round, he landed some counter overhands in the pocket, and then he landed nice counter left hook, and then he eats a head kick and a body kick at range. But he's able to duck under the straights, completes a body lock trip, pretty slick. Second round, he pummels out of the clinches, able to break free, get at range, but then he lands a knee to the head, some short hooks in the pocket, but then he got countered with some crosses and some body shots coming into the pocket. Then he crashes the pocket, he eats a body kick, and he separates, and he lands a knee to the head and a short left hook. He separates, and then on the way out, he got clipped in the head with a knee and a short left hook. Needs to watch his exit strategies, but then he gets wizard kick, but he's able to defend that. And then in the third round, he gets body lock Gets a hip toss, but he's not complete. Tries to go for the hip toss, can't finish it, can't maintain ground control. And then he eats some jabs and a body kick when he's coming into him. But then he gets clinched to the fence. He gets some double unders, but then he from double unders, eats some knees in that position. But then he lands some lunge, straight rights at range, and he lands some knees in the clinch. Kind of lands some wild hooks, but just couldn't get a whole lot going there, to be honest. Then Denise Bodnar, he took on Kewen Rangel at WWFC. In the first round, he gets foot swept in the clinch, but he's able to pop right back up. And then he gets pressed and he eats some jabs and some crosses, but then he's able to complete the double leg takedown. Perfect level change. He gets blitzed and he gets doubled, gives up a backpack position, but then he gets drugged down, but he's able to roll through, turns into him, gets on top, right into side control. Then the second round, he gets pressed with a flurry, but then he's able to get the tie clinch. He eats some uppercuts, but he's able to land a few jump knees. Then he's able to get the body lock inside trip into full mount, lands some nasty ground and pound, works the triangle, arm triangle, gets a submission. So, yeah, this guy's needs to kind of settle down the first round, but he's able to find his finishes. He has a lot of finishes on his record, and Bodnar is -130, Hernandez +110. I'm going to go with Denise Bodnar here. Pretty close line. There's just a thing about these flyweight newcomers, and I think Bodnar is going to be able to find the submission. Honestly, Hernandez, I think he's going to end up on the ground with Hernandez in some sort of scramble situation. And Hernandez just doesn't have a lot of activity for me, and Bodnar is a little too tricky, a little too active. Bodnar by submission, +400, not a bad play. The whole fight to go under 2.5 rounds, +145. Bodnar likes to finish early, so I'm going to go with that. Denise Bodnar, I think he's going to get it done. Next fight, fifth fight in the card, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. Kang is back, taking on Christian Quiñonez. Kang took on Dinah Bakiril his last fight. In the first round, he lands some jabs and some leg kicks standing at range, but then he eats some uppercuts, just kind of standing there at range for a second, just kind of pausing. But then he gets pressed and he eats some uppercuts and hooks inside the pocket. In the second round, though, he hurts him with a stiff jab off of a hook counter, but then he eats some counter lead hooks. His double attempt gets stuffed. In the third round, he's able to land a nice overhand right at range as Donna is circling. He lands some counter overhands at range as well, but then he gets clipped with the hook off of overhand at the end there. But, Kang stayed pretty solid and was able to find his targets. And then Christian Quiñonez took on Khalid Taha his last fight. In the first round, he fights long, he bounces in and out, slides in, lands some jabs. He slides in, lands a jab to a right cross, and then he lands the overhand right off of a load up, gets the knockout. Pretty vicious. Looked pretty good. But then he took on Zhao Long. In the first round, he lands some Contender Series, I believe. In the first round, he lands some inside leg kicks at range, and he catches the kick, gets to the front head, but he's not able to spin around to get the back. But then he gets clipped with a short hook while he's circling, has his hands down. He lands some counter 1-2s, and he's able to stuff the clinch attempt. Lands a couple knees from the tie clinch to the body, but then he eats a short hook in the clinch, and then he backs up. And that fight went 3 rounds, but I just wanted to get some more data. Quiñonez -140, Kang +120. Pretty competitive matchup, I think. Line's pretty competitive as well. I'm going to go with Kang, slight underdog. I think he's going to be able to find a home for his jab. I think he's going to be relatively hard to take down. I think he's going to give him trouble. I think he's going to be able to stuff some of the takedown attempts, land some shots in the clinch. The only thing I worry about is Christian Quiñonez has more activity than Kyung, so Kyung's going to have to hurt him a little bit. But, yeah, I think Kyung's going to find his target here, and I like to slight underdog money. I'm going to go with Kang. Main event of the prelims, 125 pounds, men's flyweight. Jimmy the Brick Flick back in action, taking on Alessandro Costa. Jimmy Flick needs a win here. He retired, came back, then he goes away in his return fight, so I'm looking to get a victory. Jimmy Flick took on Charles Johnson his last fight. In the first round, he gets a double, but he gets reversed with the switch sit right away. He gets pressed with some jabs and some lead hooks. He eats some head kicks at range, but he's able to complete the double leg off of the fence. He's able to take the back, but then he slides off of it, eats some ground and pound, and just gets TKO'd. And the knock on Jimmy Flick doesn't have a good chin, and kind of saw that here. So he's kind of needs to get it done in the first round a lot of times. Alessandro Costa, he took on Amir Albazi his last fight. This was his UFC debut, so that's a tough one. In the first round, he throws a left hook and he clips him with the right cross. He's able to stuff the double leg attempt. In the second round, he gets dropped with the 1-2 standing at range. He eats some ground and pound and full guard, but he's able to survive at least. Then in the third round, he lands his jabs are too short. He cannot find the target, but then he gets taken down with a double leg. And then he back on his feet. He gets dropped with the step and uppercut coming in and just gets knocked out. So tough one for him. but, you know, Mirabal's, he's pretty good. Alessandro Costa minus 275. Jimmy Flick is plus 230. And this is a tough one because we just do not know what to expect out of Jimmy Flick. And he's a big underdog. And Alessandro Costa might be the more technically sound fighter, but that price tag's a lot for Alessandro Costa. And I'm thinking the bookies saw Jimmy Flick get knocked out as a return fight. He's been off for a while before that. But I just think this line's way out of whack. And, you know, Jimmy Flick, he's got a chance in the first round. So, I'm going to go with Jimmy Flick. I'm probably going to be wrong, but, you know, I just can't lay minus 275 on Alessandro Costa at this point. You know, and Jimmy Flick plus 230. So, you don't even need to, like, bet any props. But I would go sub by Jimmy Flick. It's a pretty decent payout. And then the whole fight to go under 2.5 rounds is minus 200. Steep price tag, but I really think it has to go over under 2.5 rounds. So I'm gonna go with Jimmy Flick on this one, plus 230. We'll see what happens. First fight of the main card at 170 pounds, men's welterweight. Nicholas Dalby taking on Muslim, the king of Kung Fu, Salikhov. Both guys trying to get a win here, maybe make their way to the top 15. Salikhov got knocked out by Li Jingliang not so long ago, so tough road back, but, you know, both guys might be able to make something late here in their careers here. Nicholas Dalby took on Warley Alves his last fight. In the first round, he clinches him to the fence. Back at range, he lands some jabs, lands some step-in straight rights at range. He lands a step-in leg kick. Then he's able to get the body lock off of a counter. In the second round, he gets pressed with an uppercut, and he gets shot to the fence. He's able to defend a single leg attempt, though, and he tries to go for the pancake, and then he pulls triangle, though. Don't know if that was a good idea, but then he lands some short shots in the clinch, and then in the body lock, gets the body lock to the fence, and then he lands some 1-2s in the pocket, but then he eats a counter cross over top, and then in the third round, he gets cut off on the cage, eats a big hook, but then he lands a head kick at range, lands a jab, but then he eats a counter cross. Then he lands some jabs and some crosses in the pocket, and then he lands a 1-2 at range, kind of turns it on a little bit there. They're both kind of throwing some jabs back at each other, and Dalby does okay in those firefights, I guess. And then Muslim Salikhov took on Andre Fiallo his last fight. In the first round, he circles on the outside, parries whenever Fiallo's throwing a straight shot. And then he threatens a single leg attempt, but then he eats the uppercut circling, and he lands a hook in the pocket, and then he shoots the single, completes a single right into full guard. Doesn't do a ton with it, though. Back on his feet, he eats a right hook, but then he lands a spin kick to the body, but then he gets pressed, but he's able to evade the little blitz of Fiallo, but then he eats a 1-2 right at the end there. Then in the second round, though, he lands a hook and he gets around the back. He lands some short hooks, and then he breaks the clinch, lands a nice body kick. He kept going to the body this fight. I like seeing that. And then he hurts him with a back fist off of a leg kick, and then lands another spin kick to the body. And then he rocks him with a step and cross. And then Andre overswings and falls to the ground. Kind of got lucky, I guess. Then Muslim just jumps on him, beats the shit out of him on the ground. Then in the third round, he drops him with a spin kick to the body. Then he lands a hook flurry, and then a spinning kick to the head, and then just a couple hooks, gets TKO victory. Yeah, pretty nasty. But, yeah. So Muslim, Andre Fiallo is kind of like a first-round guy, so Muslim was able to stick it out. Muslim Salikhov minus 195, Nicholas Dalby plus 160. I was thinking about Nicholas Dalby, but he just doesn't do enough. He doesn't. He tries to drag fights out, make them close. And I think Muslim's aware of that. And I think Muslim's going to hurt him. He's going to hit him with some big shots. I think Muslim's going to have the bigger moments. Muslim can grapple a little bit. I don't think Nicholas Dalby's going to out-grapple Muslim. I think Dalby might clinch him to the fence a lot, but I think Muslim will be able to break free. When he does break free, he's going to land a big shot. And Muslim's going to have the bigger moments. I don't like the price tag. And like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth, but I just like Muslim Salikhov here, I think he'll land some of the bigger shots. I don't think he's going to get a knockout, but I can see him winning. So I'm going to go Muslim Salikhov here. We'll see. Second fight on the main card at 155 pounds. Men's lightweight. Manuel Torres taking on Nicholas Motta. Manuel Torres took on Franco Maggio his last fight in his debut. In the first round, he lands some leg kicks and some counter left hooks. Then he eats a jab, but then he counters a jab with an overhand right. And then he's able to stuff a double leg attempt, but then he eats a counter overhand. But then he's able to clip him with an uppercut inside the collar tie. And then he lands a jab and a lead left hook. And then he lands some wide uppercuts gets right into the clinch. He lands a lead uppercut at range, but then he's able to land the straight flurry. He lands some lead hooks, followed by an elbow. Then he lands an overhand left and a right uppercut whenever he's getting pressed, and just gets the knockout. And it's pretty vicious. And yeah, he looked pretty good. Now Camacho's chinny. He's been around a long time, but still, Manuel Torres pieced him up. He did what you're supposed to do, knocks him out in the first round, didn't take a ton of damage. Good performance. Nicholas Motta took on Cameron Van Camp his last fight. In the first round, he eats some jabs when he's pressing forward, and then he's looking for them slide-in hooks. He lands a head kick off of a jumping knee. But then he lands a counter left hook off of the jab, and then he drops him with the step-in left hook from space, and then just gets a TKO on the ground. Looked pretty good. It's you know, he looked all right. But Nicholas Motta plus 155, Manuel Torres minus 180. Another one, you got two guys that are trying to make a name for themselves here. Not ranked, but they're trying to get there, trying to have some exciting fights. They like to finish early on. But just kind of looking at it, Manuel Torres, he finishes all his fights in the first round pretty much, so I get that. I mean, this fight's probably going to be in the first round anyway, and Nicholas Motta doesn't go very long either, so I think they're kind of equal in that regard. Like, I don't think anybody's going to try to drag his fight out. But Nicholas Motta, before Cameron Van Camp, took on Jim Miller and kind of got schooled, so yeah. It's a tough one, man. There's not a ton of data, and they're both new. A minus 180 seems a little high for Manuel Torres, but watching the tape, I really liked him over Nicholas Motta. I think he's more dynamic. I think he's quicker. I think he's a little more accurate, and he's longer. I think that length's going to be a problem for Motta. Motta's going to have to get on the inside of him, and I think he's going to eat some shots when he's getting on the inside. So minus 180, a little steep, but I'm going to go for Manuel Torres here. I think he gets it done, but either way, I think we see some fireworks. Third fight on the main card, 145 pounds, men's featherweight. Pat Sabatini is back from a brutal knockout, taking on Lucas Almeida. You know, both guys. Pat Sabatini had aspirations to get into the rankings, so, you know, he might be able to get back on track here with an impressive performance. And Lucas Almeida, you know, trying to climb the ladder as well. Pat Sabatini is a little step up for him, so a win would go a long way for him. Pat Sabatini took on Damon Jackson's last fight really quick. In the first round, he gets rocked with a front face kick. Then he gets TKO'd ground pound from the back mount. Rough stuff, but that's atypical. Damon Jackson's typically knock guys out. So, but before that, he took on TJ Laramie. In the first round, he gets clinched to the fence, gets taken down with an outside trip. He tries to go for the triangle, but then he uses it to get up, so that was good. But he catches the kick. He gets him down to the blast double. He's not able to hold him down there, though, but he hurts him with a body kick. Then he jumps to guillotine, gives up full guard. Horrible IQ, okay? Just... There's still like 45 seconds left, so I don't know why you jump that guillotine, man. In the second round, he gives up double under position, but then he reverses. He gets a single leg trip takedown, takes the back. He gets one hook in, lands some ground and pound, and he looks for the choke. So pretty good stuff in that aspect. Close to a 10-8 round there. In the third round, he eats some straights off of a back fist, but then he shoots a single leg attempt, gets stuffed, but then he gets a snatch single into an ankle pick, gets in a half guard ground and pound, threatens the arm triangle a little bit, but then he's able to keep the body lock when TJ's trying to get up, and then he takes his back with one hook there, but and then TJ was able to like land a little bit of flurry, like 10 seconds left there, but it didn't really matter. But yeah, TJ took that fight on like short notice, so Pat Sabatini, you know, I thought Pat Sabatini would finish him. So he didn't, so say what you will. And then Lucas Almeida took on Mike Trezano his last fight. In the first round, he lands some 1-2s at range. Then he lands across, kind of circles backwards. And then he gets pressed with the hook and body lock to the fence. But he lands an overhand right and then a left kick to the body. And then follows it up with a leg kick, nice combo. And then he gets dropped with the cross off the step in straight right, though. So that's going to happen. But then in the second round, he lands a step in, left hook to the body, and then he followed it up with a leg kick. That's his go-to combination there. It was working well for him. But then he eats a jab off of a 1-2. He lands some left hooks in the pocket exchanges. But then he drops him with the counter left hook inside the pocket, gets in a full guard ground and pound. Then he's able to take his back toward the end there. Decent stuff. Then in the third round, he drops him with the counter left hook off of the hook exchange. TKO via ground and pound. Nice stuff. A little bit of adversity in the first round, comes back strong, and gets the finish. Love to see it. Lucas Almeida, plus 170. Pat Sabatini, minus 200. I'm going to go with Lucas Almeida. Pat Sabatini, obviously, the better grappler, but is Pat Sabatini going to be able to take Lucas Almeida down? And if he does, is he going to be able to stay on his back long enough to do some serious damage, or is Lucas Almeida going to light him up on the feet? And is Pat Sabatini recovered from that knockout? We don't know. Should Pat Sabatini be minus 200? I don't think so. You know, I think Lucas Almeida, he went 3 rounds. His cardio is decent. I think it's going to be tougher than people. I think he's going to be tougher to get to the ground than people think. Lucas Almeida plus 170. I think I got to take it. Maybe a knockout. Don't know. But I'm just going to take the dog money. I think Lucas Almeida just kind of lights him up on the feet, lands the bigger shots, stops all other takedowns. If he doesn't get taken down, I think he can get up relatively quickly. Gonna go with Lucas Almeida. Hope the underdog gets it done. Feature fight of the night at 185 pounds, men's middleweight, Armen Petrosyan, Christian Leroy Duncan. Both guys trying to make a name for themselves. Petrosyan took on AJ Dobson in his last fight. In the first round, his kick gets caught and he gives up his back, but he pops right back up. It's a knock on him. And defended pretty well in this fight, but then he eats a straight off of a leg kick. He lands the body kicks at range, but then he circles and he gets pressed with the jab and a cross. But then he gets mad return off his body kick at the end there. Then the second round, he lands some lead left hooks and a cross. But then he's able to hit a switch off the double leg, off the fence, and he gets right back up, and he's able to land a cross on the break. Pretty good defense there. And then the third round, he lands a leg kick and a 1-2 whenever he gets pressed. But then he eats a short hook off of his straights. And, you know, close, but he was landing a lot of jabs. They weren't hurting AJ a lot, but he was landing at range and just kind of piecing him up a little bit. And was a more technical striker and was able to defend takedowns. Christian Leroy Duncan took on Dusko Todorovic in his UFC debut. In the first round, he presses with some leg kicks, and he looks for some jabs and some front kicks, and then he's able to land a left cross. And then he gets the over-under position on the fence, and then Dusko's knee just pops. So don't really take too much from that fight. Before that, though, outside the UFC, he took on Marian Dimitrov. In the first round, he lands a spinning wheel kick to the head, but then he eats a hook on the fence, and he gets clinched. But then he eats an overhand and some hooks when he's coming in the pocket. But then he's able to land some counter elbows in the collar tie. And then he lands a back fist and a right hook, and then just lands a hook flurry and gets a knockout. So, pretty explosive guy. Likes to throw spinning shit. Christian Leroy minus 155, Armen Petrosyan plus 135. I'm going to go for Armen Petrosyan. Don't know why he's an underdog. He's got more UFC fights under his belt. And I think he's going to be able to stay at range and kind of land some jabs, kind of like with AJ Dobson. He just got to be able to defend those big power shots. As the rounds go on, I think Petrosyan's going to do better. I think his cardio is going to look better. He's been in those 3-round fights more often than Christian has. So, yeah, I don't know why this line's like that. I'm going to go for Armen Petrosyan, plus 135, you know. Co-main event of the evening at 155 pounds, men's lightweight, Arman Tsarukyan taking on Joaquim Silva. This should be a lamb being led to slaughter, but you never know in MMA. Crazy stuff happens all the time. People get knocked out for no reason. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, Tsarukyan, if he does get this victory, he's going to get a high-ranked guy next. And, yeah, he's having trouble getting fights. He's in that position where he's a really good fighter, but he doesn't have a big name, and he's not ranked super high. So the reward does not outweigh the risk for him, so that's why this fight's going down. Tsarukyan took on Damir Ismagulov his last fight. Another guy people didn't really want to fight. In the first round, he gets a blast double off the jab. He's able to get around the back, and then he trips him, and he's able to hit a couple mat returns, doesn't want to let him go. Then he gets the body lock lift, but then he gets reversed into the mount. He eats some ground and pound, but he's able to sweep pretty quickly, and he's able to take his back off of that, kind of demoralizing for Ismagulov. And then in the second round, he lands some body and some head kicks. He's looking for the jabs, and he's able to, he lands some step-in hooks, and he takes his back, and he finally gets both hooks in there, and kind of threatens ruining a choke, landing a decent amount of ground and pound. But then he eats across that range, but then he's able to level change into the double leg to finish the round on top yet again. Then in the third round, he hits a satch single trip, takes the back. He just does that 2 times, takes up a lot of time on the back, and really controls him for the majority of that round. So pretty good performance from him, and didn't really struggle too much, and he looks really good on the ground. And, you know, on the feet, he looks sufficient, I guess. And then Joaquim Silva, he took on Jesse Robson his last fight. In the first round, he eats a jab and a lead uppercut, but then he gets pressed on the inside. Remember, he throws his jab with some jabs and some uppercuts. He lands a big overhand right at range, though, and then he starts pumping his jabs and lands some lead hooks and a jump knee, which rocks him right at the end there. So he's a high-flying guy. In the second round, he eats some straight lefts when he's coming into range. He lands a jump knee. His jump knee gets caught, though, but then he just pulls it right back out. But I think that's an opportunity. Tsarukyan might catch his knee, so he's got to be careful with that. But then he eats some jabs at range. But then he lands some jabs. Remember, he gets pressed, and then he presses with some jabs and a jump knee, and then he drops him with a big jumping knee and gets a TKO via ground and pound. So pretty explosive guy, pretty dangerous guy, just not a lot of activity. Joaquim Silva plus 700. Arman Tsarukyan is minus 1,050. You know, I'm picking Arman Tsarukyan, but I would put your money on Joaquim Silva. Joaquim Silva, yeah, he's got the potential to knock him out. I just don't see it happening. Like I said, not a lot of activity. He throws a lot of spinning stuff. I think if he does that, Tsarukyan's going to be able to take him down right off of there. And Joaquim Silva is going to be dangerous in the first round. If Tsarukyan can just evade those big shots, take him down off the spinning attacks, and ride out the first round, second and third round is going to be really difficult for Silva. He's going to get sloppy. Tsarukyan's going to make him miss. And I could possibly see Tsarukyan getting a knockout from here, maybe via ground and pound or something like that. Doesn't really have a ton of submissions on his record. He has more knockouts. I know Tsarukyan's going to be looking for a finish on this fight, so Tsarukyan by knockout minus 135, not great, because when you hit props, you typically want to get dog money. But it is what it is. But I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan here. I think he gets it done. But if you want to lay $5 on Joaquim Silva, can't blame you, because anything can happen in MMA. Okay. The main event of the evening at 185 pounds, men's middleweight. Marvin, the Italian Dream Vettori, taking on Jared, the Killer Gorilla Cannonier, the Crystal Master. It's just a fun fight here. Both guys had their title shots. Both guys lost. Both guys lost to Israel Adesanya. Both guys lost to Robert Whittaker. So, you know, just trying to keep the division moving, I guess. Middleweight's kind of weird right now, but we'll see. But, you know, both guys want to win this fight because if Izzy does lose his title, that opens the division wide up again. And if you get a big win in this fight, you could be next for that title potentially. Who knows? But I think either guy, if they do get a victory, they need a finish to be in the headlines. If not, if it's just a boring 5-round middleweight fight, nobody's going to talk about it. But Marvin Vettori's number 3, and Jared Cannonier's number 4. So, don't want to lose this fight. Marvin Vettori took on Roman Dolidze his last fight. In the first round, he lands a leg kick, but then he eats a hook flurry. He's able to land a counter left, though, and then he lands some 1-2s at range. But then he eats some overhands against the fence, but then he counters with some jabs, stops the onslaught just in time. Then in the second round, he backs out of the overhand range, so he makes that read between rounds. He lands some leg kicks, and he pumps jabs. He lands some counter hooks, and he's able to land a straight left. And the third round, he's able to circle out of the hook range, and then he gets the collar tie. Then he lands a jab and a check right hook, and he's able to circle. And then he eats a straights, and in exchange, they're in an exchange from range, just kind of throwing overhands and jabs. But then he lands a counter hook off on the inside off of Roman's overhand. And yeah, just he was the more technical guy than Roman Dolidze. So he got it done. Didn't really try to wrestle him. Smart move. But yeah, Marvin looked decent on the feet and took some damage. But like I said, he was able to circle out of the way, or he was able to land a shot that got respect from Roman and stopped him from flurrying on him. Then Jared Cannonier took on Sean Strickland his last fight. And this was 5 rounds. In the first round, he stalks and he looks for some overhands and some hooks, but then he gets clipped with some jabs coming in, but then he lands his leg kick gets caught, gets his back taken momentarily. He's able to get up though. Sean wasn't really pressing the issue, wasn't really trying to keep him down, but then he eats a 1-2 whenever he's entering the pocket. Then in the second round, he presses forward, looks for some lead hooks and overhands, but then he eats some jabs on the way in, and he looks to just kind of slip and throw either the overhand or the hook. He lands some leg kicks off of Sean's jabs though. Whenever Sean threw a jab, he would blast the leg kick. Interesting. And then he blocks the blitz and he lands an overhand up against the fence. Then in the third round, he eats some jabs at range and he tries to counter. He tries to go for the counter overhand, and then he follows with a left hook. He's a little too short though, or if he does hit him, he just kind of barely clips him. But then he's able to land a left hook and then an overhand right, and then he starts landing some jabs to the body, just trying to find his range. And it goes round 4 and 5. Jared Cannonier picks it up in the 4th and 5th rounds, but still not a ton really happened there. So Jared Cannonier plus 100, Marvin Vettori minus 120. I really don't know. I don't think wrestling is going to be a factor. I mean, Marvin can wrestle adequately, but I don't know. Maybe it will be. Jared Cannonier got taken down by Robert Whittaker, but I don't know, man. It just depends. Like, if Jared wants to wake up and be super aggressive, Vettori might be in trouble. But the problem is Vettori's got that ungodly chin. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. And if he does, then Jared Cannonier hits. He's like the hardest hitter on the planet. And I think Martin Vettori's a little bit better counter striker. I think Jared's going to blitz him. He might get frustrated. I think, like, kind of how Roman did to Vettori. I think Vettori's going to land some shots whenever Jared rushes him. Or it might just be a boring fight and they stay out of range. Honestly, couldn't tell you. I just think Vettori has better victories. I think Jared Cannonier might be looking for that one shot too long. And even if he does hit Vettori with it, I don't think Vettori's going to go down. I don't think he's going to get dropped. So I'm just going to go with Martin Vettori. Maybe he does find those takedowns later on in the fight, but it's basically a coin flip. But minus 120, I'm going to go with Martin Vettori. The fight to go under 4.5 rounds, though, plus 175. Why not? But I'm going to go with the Italian Dream. All right, everybody. Thanks for riding with me. Appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff. A disappointing performance last week, but I went 500. I really want to have a winning record this week. I did all my research. A lot of fights to watch. A lot of names I don't know of that well, but I really did my homework and took everything into account. So I'm hoping we can get it done this week. Let's see some upsets. Let's see some victories. Let's see some violence. Let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone. Get some money.